Hey gamers, what's up? Muzz here from L1 Games, at home once again, doing a video at home. Had the day off, but thought I wanted to get some content out there. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to show you a few of the things from my collection that I really cherish. And these aren't maybe, well, one of them is pretty special. I'm saving that one for last. But these aren't all exactly maybe the best things in my collection, but some of the ones I like the most. And what I'm going to do in between that is show you little bits and pieces of my boxed 32X collection. I love the 32X. I think it was a bit of an underrated console. And I have 14 boxed games so far, which is less than half of what I need if I ever want to complete a set. But I'm really happy with them. Two of them are actually not official, but I'll show those anyway. So I'm getting there. Eric, I am going to show it. And so what I'm going to do is break it up. I'm going to show you something from the collection that I like, that I think is cool, and then I'll show you a few of the 32X games. Then I'll go back and I'll show you something else I like that's in my collection, and I'll talk about why they're important to me. And in the meantime, if anyone throws up any questions or whatever, I'll answer those as well. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is something I acquired at the store. A guy brought it into me probably about, 6, 7 years ago. And I don't know how he got it, but I thought it was super cool. So much, in fact, that we struck a deal on it, and I decided to keep it for my personal collection. And it's I posted some of this stuff on Twitter, so if you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen one or two of these things. Definitely the last thing. But it's the I made this Xbox 360 faceplate that was given to the production team for the Xbox 360. So the launch team, they created this system. They all got one of these, and I don't know how any of these made it out into the wild. I don't know if I was part of the launch team and I got one of these. I would keep it. Like, I don't know. I'd feel like that's kind of an important thing, but this is it. And you can see this is Launch Team '05. And this is just a really cool thing, and it's brand new sealed, never been opened, and I always loved the faceplates a lot, so I decided to keep this one for myself. I think someday it'll be a very cool addition to my collection. I actually have a bit of a collection of faceplates, so this goes with them. And I also have the launch event faceplate that was shipped to the people who went to the launch event. They all gave their address, and then a faceplate was shipped to each one of them about a month later, and I don't even remember how I got that one, but I happened across it. So that's the first thing. Um, and then let's jump into, say, three of these 32X games. What do we start with? Space Harrier. Anyone who loved Space Harrier in the arcade loves that. So I think that's a cool one to have. Is everything backwards in this? I hope not. If it is, sorry. Oh, and then Zaxxon's Mother Base 2000. A cool one to have. And sticking with, these are the more common games. Doom. Gotta have Doom. This was actually my first game for 32X. I made a trade with a guy. I traded him a video camera, a Super 8 video camera, for a Sega CD 32X Genesis setup, and it was just really awesome. Like, and I know this is not the ideal version of Doom to play for the first time, but when I got it, I was super stoked. I loved it. To me, it was mind blowing, and I had never really played Doom prior to that. So, what can I say? Next up, in terms of fun collectibles, this is actually very recent. This came out on Limited Run Games. It's one of my favorite games. I actually kind of like the FMV games of the '90s, Night Trap and all those. I think they're great titles. I think they're fun. They're very challenging, and Double Switch is one of my favorites. And this version of Double Switch was released by Limited Run Games. This is the Switch version, and it's the special edition, the collector's edition. This game is so good for so many reasons. One of them being Corey Haim. being the main character in it. I'm a huge Corey and Corey fan. Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, love them. So, um, yeah, that's just really exciting to me. My phone vibrated and it threw me off. And also in this game, a lot of people don't know it, but Blondie, Debbie Harry, is in this game. She sang Rapture and Heart of Glass and a bunch of other huge big hits in the 80s. So that's awesome. And then Arlie Ermy is also in this. And you know him from a bunch of stuff, but mainly people know him as the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket. So this is just a great game. It plays a lot like Night Trap with, you know, you're controlling cameras throughout, not controlling them, but looking through them and setting off traps for the bad guys. So I don't know, just one of my favorites, and I love having that. 32X games. Star Wars Arcade. That's a must-have for anyone. I think if you have a 32X, you want Star Wars. Just a great game, lots of fun. And I think, if I remember correctly, this had an exclusive mode too, a 32X version that you know wasn't in the arcade, of course, but yeah, just awesome stuff. Yeah, Virtua Racing. You know, this is the kind of thing, like, if you want a full set someday, you gotta own. Like, I don't play Virtua Fighting, I'm not into it, but I do love having just a box copy of the game, so that's kind of fun. Shadow Squadron. Not, again, a great game, but again, you know, I love these boxes. I love them. I love the, you know, I don't know. There's just something about having a complete in box anything that to me is awesome. And this is actually one of my favorite games on the system. Pitfall, the Mayan Adventure. This is a great game. This is a lot of fun. So, if you haven't played it on any console, this is actually multi-platform. I believe it was on the Sega CD also, but on like the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, and you know, just definitely became a thing. I didn't catch your whole comment, man. I'm sorry. I know it was a question, so send it again, and I'll read it and I'll answer it. All right, so that's the end of those. Let's go into another cool collectible. Another limited run game, actually. And no, I'm not like paid by limited run or anything, but there are some things that are just, to me, super cool. And this is, I think, one of the neater releases. And it was the Snatcher soundtrack. But the way they did it, it's the format of this that I like the most. That they put it in a case that I can put right beside my original copy of Snatcher in my collection, and they'll complement one another. And I think that kind of thing is super cool. Since distribution became a thing, do you think the PS3 360 and further on games will ever be as valuable as the cartridge era games? I think games... Pitfall kicked my butt. Yeah, it was really hard. I think games... it's the same for every generation. Supply and demand, rare games that are very good are all going to go up in value. And as we move towards digital distribution, yeah, I think some of the games of the past will go up in value if they're not, especially if they're not released later on for later consoles. So I don't think, you know, when digitals are all, or consoles are all digital down the road, and we no longer have physical game options, then I think there will be more people going back to collect and acquire old video games and consoles. So I think there will be some of that will help increase the value of the actual physical games, the reminders of, you know, the past of video game history. So I think definitely it will have an effect, but the value of games will always be based on their supply and demand. So yeah, that's the Snatcher limited run soundtrack. And I love the art on the back. Just, this is very cool. And I'm building my game room right now. If I don't know if you follow me on like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I've been posting videos here and there. And that room is coming together. I just finished all the paint work on it. I'm working on one of the doors, putting up the trim, and the room's going to be finished. Then I have to wait a while for the floors in there to get done. And in the meantime, I'm going to be doing all the trim in the house. But then I start building my shelves. And when I display my Snatcher, this will be proudly displayed right beside it. So that was a long explanation for not much. More 32X games. Okay, so we got NBA Jam Tournament Edition. Just actually, I dislike sports games on the whole. Not a big fan, but NBA Jam is actually kind of fun. So it's cool to have this one. The game that got me back into video games back in the day was Mortal Kombat. I started playing it at Fort Sam Houston, Texas, when I was on active duty. And when I came home, I bought a Super Nintendo, and it was right when Mortal Kombat 2 came out. So Mortal Kombat 2 is a game I've always loved. It was my first console, Mortal Kombat, and the game that really kind of pulled me back into gaming on consoles. And I have it for the 32X. So very happy about that. Not happy about that sticker that someone stuck on it. I might try a heat gun someday and see if I can peel that off. I know the longer I leave it on there, the worse it's going to be, but I just don't know if I want to touch it. But yeah, just a game you gotta have. And Metalhead. Yeah, not a terrible game, not a great game, but it's fun enough. If you have a 32X, your options are limited. So this is I would say among the more interesting games to play on the system. So yeah, Metalhead, yay! All right, so this is something I picked up. It's always bothered me how they could never get Mortal Kombat 2 arcade perfect on any of the consoles. Well, when they released it later, like via download for the 360 and stuff, it was the arcade version. It was pretty perfect, but the earlier versions, yeah, I'd be inclined to agree. I'm trying to think of which version it was I played on the Saturn that was really like top notch, and I can't remember. It was like Ultimate 3 or something. I can't even remember now. It's been so long, but that one was really good. But yeah, it is funny, like all the old versions. I would say that Mortal Kombat 2 on the Super Nintendo for its time was pretty impressive. I mean, it was enough to get me interested and keep me interested. So this is something I picked up about a year ago, maybe a year and a couple months ago, and it's very cool. Um, I don't know in terms of value what something like this is worth, but it wasn't cheap for me. But I thought it was worth having in my collection. Um, Astyanax, and this is a either prototype cart or a pre-release cart that was sent out to like maybe video game magazines to test play. But I don't know if you can really see the writing on there, but yeah, it's got a date. I think that's the release date. Not 100%. I would have to do a little more research on it. But if you take the board apart, I have a Solomon's Key 2. Uh, let's see, it used to be a Sega fan during the Genesis era. Different consoles. Yeah, I was a Nintendo kid, but somehow, for some reason, became a huge Sega collector later on. So I don't know if that, you know, magazines know what the heck was going on. Yeah. Um, I don't know if I was put off by like the different consoles or anything. I loved the 32X and I jumped right onto a Saturn. Actually, I jumped onto a 3DO and then a Saturn. And the PlayStation was actually the last one I got. And was not my favorite of the three. Actually, it came in third. But yeah, I remember those days, man, when you had to read a video game magazine and you wanted to know what was going on. You had to pick up Game Pro or EGM or whatever like on the day it launched, so you could get. I ended up getting subscriptions just so I could know what was happening. Just as your first console, your brother had the NES. The one that was the Genesis. See, I never had a Genesis like right when it came out. I didn't get my first Genesis until '95. So I was a little bit behind the game on that one, but I got the whole setup all together: the 32X, the Sega CD, and the Genesis. But so yeah, there's the Astyanax cart, and it's very cool. I was going to say I have a cart very similar to this. It's a Solomon's Key 2, which wasn't released in America, um, but it's Solomon's Key 2 on an NTSC board, at least I think. And it was changed in America to Fire and Ice. So what I have is a pre-release prototype cart for that. And when I took that apart, the board in that one is exactly like the board in this one, which makes me think this is prototype, not a pre-release cartridge. Because if you take the actual game apart and look at it, it's got a normal board in it. The board inside of this goes all the way to the top. It's huge in there. And yeah, so yeah, just a fun addition to the collection. Now, this is some of the more special stuff in my 32X collection. Got Primal Rage. Gotta have Primal Rage. This one's a little bit harder to find these days, but then right now games are going up in prices. I'm sure everything is a little bit harder to find. And this is probably the apex of my collection. I turned down a copy of, what's it called, Web of Fire, the Spider-Man game for 32X, about 2 years ago at CorgsCon. And I regret it, like to my core. I regret not buying that when I could have. But I do have a copy of Colibri. Hey, thanks, man. I'm pretty proud of it. I love this stuff. You're seeing now my best game in my 32X collection, and this one's pretty hard to find. And it's a weird game. It's a shooter. I mean, it's basically a shmup, but like totally weird. You play as a hummingbird. Like I don't know. It's a fun game though, and a little bit difficult to find. I really need to find that Spider-Man Web of Fire if I'm ever going to complete a set. And I want to say that thing's going for like $500 now or something like that. I haven't looked it up, but you guys can look it up and see. But I need to find one. I need to find it sooner than later because if I don't get it, then I'm probably never going to get it. And then these are games a buddy of mine made for me, and they're very cool. He actually made the artwork. He not programmed, but he put it on the cartridge for me and did the artwork and printed it and, put these all together for me. Very cool. I don't know if he wants his name said on here, so I won't say it, but I absolutely love these games. He did the X-Men for me, and he did Virtua Hamster. Talking about boards. You ever found one of your Trials arcade cabinet modification boards for Space Invaders? Oh, no. I too saw that on that documentary, but which I wasn't blown away by that documentary. But the whole part about those boards and everything were pretty cool. But I haven't come across much arcade stuff in general. So, in all fairness, it's probably not something I'd be as likely to see as someone who's really into collecting, like JAMA boards or something. The closest I've gotten is the few arcade machines I have, and I'm actually selling them all off right now. So I just don't have room for them. So yeah, but that was a cool thing. So yeah, Virtua Hamster, which is an incomplete game, but I mean, what an interesting just thing to have. And again, he did all the artwork for me and put it all on the carts. He used donor carts. I want to say these were originally Doom cartridges. But, I mean, there are plenty of Dooms out there and not too many actual Virtua Hamster carts. So I figured it's worth the sacrifice. And I have a couple of cool, I don't know if you would call them homebrew, because these were games that were actually going to come out on the system. But cool repro cards, I'll call them. So yeah, and that's it. 14 games for my 32X collection box. I have a bunch of loose games downstairs too. I'm probably within 4 or 5 games of completing a set, but ideally I'd like to have a full box set. And I can't remember off the top of my head. I think that's 34 games that were released. That would be fantastic. So maybe it was 36. I can't remember, but the goal is to someday have a full set. But then, for me, the goal is to have a full set of Saturn games too, and a full set of Sega CD games, and a full set, so a 3DO games. I'd love to have a full set. I'm probably 40 games away from a full set. New Mario 3D Star may be valuable down the road. I bought it. I'm keeping it. No. Well, no. You know what? I can't even say no. I knee jerk. I want to say no because they're printing so many of them. But that game, Super Mario 3D All Stars, folks. In case you didn't read the comment, that game is going to be printed in mass, in large numbers. But then so were a lot of older Mario games that seem to hold their value, and it seemed to Super Mario Sunshine went up in value. There's a ton of them out there. So maybe it will defy the law of supply and demand and actually become valuable. I can't imagine. I mean, there's so many Switch consoles out there, so the production run had to be huge. And typically, you'll see rare games become more valuable. But Nintendo franchise games defy that logic sometimes. So who knows? Maybe it will. But I don't know. The Switch is a huge selling console, and there are going to be lots of them out there. So yeah, GameCube games are holding their value like crazy and going up, up, up. I never thought Metroid Prime was going to be worth money. And God forbid you want to get anything with Mario in the title. I mean, forget about it. They're super valuable right now. And people come in the store and ask me for GameCube games. I can't even keep GameCube games. I have a few on the shelf. Every now and then I have a rare one. Or not even a rare one, an expensive one, because some of them aren't rare. And people scoff at the price. They think I'm overcharging or whatever. But I'm like, no, check online. This is cheaper than you buy it on eBay for. So yeah, it's really weird. But going into the last collectible, this is something I got recently. I posted it on Twitter, and it actually got thousands of hits. But if you don't follow me on Twitter, you haven't seen it yet, and I thought I'd bring it up in this video because it is probably one of the coolest things I've gotten in a very long time. This was acquired by a good friend of mine who found it in the bins. They call them the bins at Goodwill. It's the Goodwill store here in Columbus where like everything goes before it like gets trashed. Like some stuff gets, I think, incinerated. I'm not sure if they can't find homes for it. And this was inside of a Target bag, inside of one of the bins, where you literally pay by the pound. You gather stuff up, they weigh it, and you pay for it. So he paid maybe about $2 or $3 for this, and then he brought it to me, and we worked out. We haven't even done the trade yet, but it's mine. But it was a trade. I have some old GI Joe stuff that he wants, so I have to get it out of storage, but it's his. So this is mine, and it's a complete sealed in box original Game Boy, and we got this cool AFA case for it to put it in because I don't want hands touching it, but you can see in there it's sealed. Well, maybe you can see in there it's sealed, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful piece. Hey Kevin, hey look, we all got to start somewhere, right? I remember when I didn't, I had a few games. I had less games than you see behind me in my whole collection. What I did was I stopped trading or selling games, but that was in 1998. So you acquire. In all fairness, I should have had a full set of 32X games a long time ago. But my problem is I can't focus on any one thing. So I buy a 32X game here, I buy a Sega CD game there, I buy a Saturn game there, I buy a Super Nintendo game there, I buy a 3DO game there, and I never get a full set of any one thing. So I need focus in my collection, and I don't have it. That's my problem. But yeah, so this is just a beautiful box. Look at that. I mean, this thing is practically flawless. You see the seam there? So yeah, traded this for my old Joe's. But it's just a super, super awesome piece, and I really like it a lot. and definitely one of the better pieces I have in my collection right now. I don't know if it's the best, but it's definitely up there. I do have things that are more rare than this, but I think in terms of like value, I don't know. I don't know. But to me, that's not as important. It's not like I'm ever going to sell it. This is going to be in my collection. It's going to be sealed, so all the people want to say, "Oh, I hate sealed stuff." You know what? This is going to stay sealed. My double switch is going to stay sealed. My Snatcher soundtrack is going to stay sealed. Twitter commenter, you're running a video where you talk about the value of physical media. What do you think about selling your collection? I'll answer that in a second. So this is never going to be opened, at least as long as I own it, and that's okay to me because I have unboxed ones I can play. You know, Sega CD Universe. Hey man, what's up? How you doing? Thanks for coming by. So to me, keeping something sealed that's already sealed is all about the amount of game trades, the game stuff. Yeah, basically restarted the gen. Yeah, and that's what I did. I got sick of trading and I just stopped. Um, to me, like the idea of opening something that is a historical piece of video game history, why would I open this when there are so many open ones already? Like that seems nonsensical to me. So I'll keep this one sealed and I'll play the one that I have opened. And this, like I said, as long as I own it, will never be opened. To answer the question, will I ever sell my collection? Odds are no. My daughter's going to be very lucky someday. And decided not to. Too many big things happening. I don't think I ever have the time to invest. Yeah. Um, so to me, the idea of selling my collection I feel like I'd be selling a part of myself. I used to collect a lot of things. I collected swords at one point, like actual folded steel swords. I had a few of them. Um, and then I had show swords, and I had a toy collection at one point. I used to collect Spawn figures, and I used to collect Marvel action figures, and like bit by bit, I used to collect DVDs. I probably had about 3,000 DVDs at one point, and I had to pick. Like, I don't have room for all this stuff, so what am I going to keep? And every single time, the one thing that made the cut was always video games. I've never even thought about selling video games, and I gave up every single other thing I collect. Now I'm at the point where I haven't even collected like video game statues and collector's editions that have big pieces because I don't have room for them. So yeah, for me, it's just all about the games, and I mean, why would I want to sell them? I guess if tragedy hit, financial tragedy, and I had to, I would sell my collection. I mean, I'm not gonna, end up on the streets with a bunch of totes of video games, right? But as long as I can keep them, I'm keeping them. Thought about selling your complete Sega CD set, but you don't know. Tugs at the heartstrings. You have a complete Sega CD set? I would never let that go, man. Never. I think that's the thing about physical media. You get attached to physical things and never really see the value of investment. Well, if you don't have to cash in on your investment, then why should you? It's not like, this is going to go down in value. At least I don't imagine it is, and neither will my collection. My collection will be what it's worth today plus what it's worth as it grows in value. So the idea of cashing in on that value to me is a non-starter. Just not every game is complete. Some are disc only. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Um, so you have Kyo Flying Squadron and Snatcher, which are the grails of the Sega CD collection. I was just on Twitter and we were talking about good deals we got, and I got my Snatcher for $35 back in like 2003 2004, and then I got my Kyo Flying Squadron for $2 from a lady who sold me a big stack. So yeah, most of my games are complete, but I don't have a whole set. Actually, in fact, all of my games are complete, but I don't have a set. I'm probably pretty far away from a set. I haven't actually um, counted yet. But see, I haven't had my collection on display for quite a few years. I had a great game room, and if you look at my old videos, you can see the Building a Game Room series. It was a very small room. I could display a fraction of my collection. I displayed kind of like my best pieces, and that was cool, but not big enough. And I lived there for about 5 years. I moved there so because I wanted my daughter to go to a certain school district, and then I moved to this house, and I've been here for 5 years. So I mean, it's been a clear decade since I've had every game I own on display. I think if you look back in my videos way back, you'll find old videos of a house I lived in, a townhome, where I actually had all my DVDs and video games on display. And that video is probably near 15 years old now, 12 or 15 years. So it's been that long since I've had my collection on display. And even some have to go away. Yeah, it's true. And even when I finish this game room that I'm going to be working on now, once it's done, all my games, hopefully, I have a really solid plan for it, and I'm going to release more about that in the future. Um, all my games will be displayed. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? What is that? Axel the Great. Um, but I'm not going to be able to display my boxes, my consoles. I'm going to have one area dedicated to consoles. It's going to be I have a closet in there, and it's if you look on my Instagram and my Twitter, you'll see it. You're getting rid of your GameCube, Game Boy Color, Miss Melee, Double Dash, physical copies. Yeah, I'm telling you. That's another reason I won't sell it, because I know I'll miss it. But that's going to be, the back of this closet is going to be the one area that I have dedicated to consoles. Some 14-inch shelves, floor to ceiling, and that's going to be it. I'll be able to have maybe 10, 15 consoles in there, and that'll be for gaming on the go, like if I want to switch consoles real fast. But I have over 200 game consoles in my collection, and I don't even know how many boxes I have in my collection, and I'm not going to be able to display them all. Someday I need a huge area. Well, my next house, hopefully, I want to look for like one of those big ranches, and I want a basement with the same footprint as the house, and the basement becomes the whole game room. I would love an area where I could display all my games and all my boxes, all my little statues and stuff. You know, I have that William Birkin Resident Evil 2 statue. I think there were 400 of those made. I'd love to display that. But will I ever get the chance? That's a good question. Let's be honest. Do you really need a kitchen? It's a shame you picked kitchen. Dining room, no. I could live without a dining room. Um, but I am a gourmet. I love to cook. So I think another comment came in after that too. I didn't see it. Sorry. Um, but yeah, I love to cook. I'm actually smoking a pork shoulder right now. Like as I shoot this video, I just got my grill up to temperature. Uh, okay. So yeah, I do need a kitchen, but I don't need a dining room. I don't need a guest room. So, but I don't have a guest room here either. My house is a 3 bedroom. I'm actually in my master bedroom right now, which is actually the medium-sized room. I'm taking what would normally be the master bedroom, the biggest room upstairs. The biggest room is going to be my game room, and it's 11 foot 4 inches by 16 foot and a half, I think. So, do you watch YouTuber Nintendo collecting? His collection is jaw dropping. No, but I will definitely check it out. Based on that, I mean, I want to see a jaw dropping collection for sure. Is it all Nintendo stuff? I wish I could be that dedicated that I would collect just one thing. You know, like I'm just collecting Nintendo. I got a buddy, Corey. He collected every NES game, and then he moved on. He collected every Super Nintendo game, and then he moved on, and then he collected every N64 game. I'm blown away by his level of dedication. I don't have that kind of focus. I don't have that kind of drive. If I see something for, Master System that I think is incredible, I'll buy it. You know, I wasn't focusing on Sega CD. I found a copy of the Space Adventure, and I spent way too much money on it. And then the next week, I saw Web of Fire, and Web of Fire was $400, and I didn't buy it because I just bought the Space Adventure. It has so many games, amiibos, so many variations of each Nintendo console handheld. I do love variations. I have a few myself. Like I have every version of the Sega CD in the Genesis, except I don't have some of the super rare ones. So I don't have a Laser Active, for example. I really want a Laser Active for my collection, but outside of that, and I have all the American releases of the 3DO, but I'm looking to get the Sanyo, the Japanese 3DO also. So I love variations. I have a lot in my collection. Again, it's just about having room. You have a 3 bedroom house. One spare bedroom is the game library, and the other is the gaming area. Nice. Just don't want a collection end up in the basement in case of a flood. I lost stuff to a flood. Um, Sega CD Universe loved the Sega CD3 Sega CD Universe loves the 3DO. That's just a fun statement. I lost a bunch of stuffed toys in a flood once, and it was horrible. Still kicking yourself about not picking up Panzer Dragoon Saga for Saturn. Yeah, I got lucky and got a Prime Trilogy. I traded in. The reason I collect, the reason I stopped trading and selling games was because I traded a Panzer Dragon Saga to GameStop, which was EB Games at the time, at Eastland Mall for about $5. And then about a year later, I found out it was hard to find and valuable. So yeah, going back to that, my game room is going to be upstairs because I'm afraid of a flood. That's why I chose the master bedroom upstairs. I lost a bunch of Star Wars stuff I was selling at some of the Columbus toy shows, and it was tragic. I lost a bunch of G1 Transformers boxed. Just everything was completely ruined. The whole basement was flooded. About you can't see it here, but about a foot and a half, 2 feet, and my totes floated up and flipped over because they were unbalanced, and it was a disaster. I thought everything was safe in the totes. It wasn't. So the idea of putting shelves in the basement, you know, where if water comes in ruining my games, not having it. Not the Transformers, definitely the Transformers, and some awesome original mail-in Star Wars stuff I lost. It was it was tragic. It was terrible. I mean, one of the worst days. And I had a bunch of video game stuff down there too that got ruined. I remember, holding up an N64 and dumping the water out of it. It was terrible. I had an awesome stealth chip modded PS1 that got filled with water. What's your favorite 3DO game? Oh my god. Oh, that's hard. Flashback Quest for Identity is one of my favorites. But see, it's one of my favorite games, and the 3DO version is like the best console version of it. So Flashback is definitely up there. Oh, that's so hard. Death Keep is pretty amazing. Both the D&D games, I forget the name of the other one, are pretty amazing. And I think exclusive, I think you can't play them on. Oh, Alone in the Dark. Alone in the Dark for the 3DO. Oh my god, it's so amazing. There are way too many great games for the 3DO. Go back and watch. I did a history of the 3DO video on this channel. And if you go back and check that out, you'll see I name a bunch of really phenomenal games. It's such a great system. Definitely one of my top 5 game consoles of all time. Um, Totally underrated. So, okay. With that said, we are hitting about the 30-minute mark. Dreamcast Alone in the Dark was pretty impressive. That was the remake of Alone in the Dark, right? I forget. There's Alone in the Dark and it's a New Nightmare or something like that. Yeah, Wing Commander 3, great one. Yeah, the Dreamcast in general was pretty impressive. So yeah, that Alone in the Dark was cool. But to me, that original Alone in the Dark, mm, that's amazing. What's the hardest thing about running your own company? Um, Man, I mean, playing keep up is pretty difficult sometimes. You'd like to say I'm my own boss. I don't have to worry about anything or anyone anymore, and that's not really how it ends up. Because no matter what you do, you answer to someone. And I've learned that about life in general, and I'm okay with that. I'm not like, oh, I'm being oppressed. But if you work for someone, you're answering to your boss. If you're the boss, you're answering to the owner of the company. If you're the owner of the company, you're answering to the people who lease you your location. If you happen to own the building, which very few businesses do, you're still answering to the government. So like you're always answering to someone, and that's something I've grown used to. But then um, all the stuff in terms of just like keeping up with the company, ordering. I'm working very few hours right now, and it's actually made things way harder because I have to get my orders done and I have to pay the bills and I have to pay my employee and I have to do all the stuff I have to do. Had to get all my tax paperwork done. I had to do, pay state sales tax. It's a colossal pain. But the payoff to me is sharing video game history, being a part of video game history, um, being able to work with video games and talk with gamers every day. I mean, that's what makes all the bad stuff worthwhile. I dealt with some really crappy customers the other day who didn't want to wear masks in the store. And, I'm sorry, the mall has a mandate. You have to wear a mask in the mall. The state has a mandate. And in my store, there's a mandate, and she wants to come in. We're all exempt medically from wearing a mask. And I'm like, these people are in their 20s. They're walking around the mall. They don't have an upper respiratory problem that keeps them from wearing a mask. There are people with OPCD, is that what it is? OCPD? Who wear masks. I know a girl whose son is asthmatic, like majorly. She has him wearing a mask when they go out in public. Like, just do your part. But they wanted to be jerks, and I had to ask them to leave. And I haven't even looked at my Google reviews. I'm sure all three of them probably left me a negative review, because they were, oh, I'm not spending money here then, and they had to be nasty about it. And it's just like, come on. Well, what I told her was, she said, oh, we don't have to wear masks because we're medically exempt. She's really nasty and just had an attitude about it. And I was like, well, we offer curbside service for anyone who can't wear a mask, so you still can't be in the store without one. And that's when they went all ballistic and they walked out. And it just, I mean, come on, no one likes wearing a mask. I hate wearing a mask. I wear it all day when I'm at work. I wear it whenever I go into a store for 15 minutes. I put a mask on for 15 minutes. Okay, I don't wear it when I'm in my car. I don't wear it when I'm walking outside. Like, just be a decent human being. So, yeah. And, I don't have medical insurance through my business. So, luckily I have it, anyway. But that was one of the good things when I was in the Army. I had my medical insurance, and then I could sell video games. But I have medical insurance now, but not through my store. And if you run your own business and don't have someone in your family who can, put you in their insurance, you're screwed. My wife is a teacher, so she has great insurance, and I'm on our insurance plan. If I didn't have that, I don't know what I'd do for insurance. And that's rough. And then you also have to remember retirement and stuff. It's not like, you work for a company that gives you a 401k. It's just not one of them. Just wear it. Yeah, I agree. So, my retirement is tied up in a Roth IRA and a whole life and, all that stuff. So, you got to find the right people and the right investment people and do things properly if you own your own business. Otherwise, your business is going to close 20 years from now and you're going to go, what was I doing? I don't know. What do I do now? I don't know. Which is the thing I always touch. Like, if I did leave video games, if I decided to sell the store and do something different, I don't know what I would do. I don't know if there is anything out there for me to do because this is all I know now. I cooked for about 13 to 15 years when I was young. I had a pastry chef position. I was a kitchen manager, the whole deal. But I haven't cooked in years. I mean, outside of my my personal kitchen. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for owning your own business. To go back and answer this question, but there are a lot of things you have to work around and things you have to figure out. It's rough sometimes. I feel real bad for a lot of the small businesses like mine. When coronavirus hit, we didn't have answers, So, yeah, that's it. And I think with that said, we're at, how far are we? 43 minutes. I got to get out of here, guys. I got to go check on my pork shoulder. It's smoking right now in the smoker. Speaking of cooking, I mentioned it earlier, I think. But, and I have to put all my stuff away now. So is Tuttle dying like people say it is? Malls, Zach, in general, are dying, But Tuttle is a great Christmas location. I do gangbusters for the holidays, and I have a built-in clientele. A lot of people come to see me because they've been coming to see me for years and years. So I do well. I think when a lot of other small businesses that come to the mall and try to open up fresh may not do as well. When school kicks in and the kids are in class, the daytimes are really slow. You just have to budget and account for that. And I think that's why I I manage to do so well. I don't pay myself, you know, a ridiculous amount of money. I'm very frugal with my money, and I take a modest wage that the company pays me, and then the rest goes into reinvestment. And yeah, I do okay. As to whether the mall itself is dying, I doubt it. Come holidays, we're normally at like 95 to 98% capacity. If the mall hits like 75, I'll start worrying. That's when City Center Mall really started to crash and burn. But you know, I stayed at City Center Mall until there were only like 25 stores left in the whole mall. And I did gangbusters every week. I mean, so, you know, even if the mall were dying, that's not to say my business would be dying. But I don't think the mall is. With Scene 75 having opened, you know, at the beginning of the year, it's a shame about COVID, but they're still open on the weekends. So, you know, you appreciate me answering that. Well, I'm glad you appreciate it. I try to give good answers. But yeah, so you know, if they manage to fill the Sears anchor spot, that would be ideal. But knowing that I still have two strong anchors in the mall, three, I'm sorry, strong anchors in the mall, that that makes me pretty confident in the future of the mall. I would say for the next 5 to 10 years. Um, and you know, if the mall starts to crash, then you know maybe I go do a strip center thing again. I don't know. So you know, that's something I've thought about. It's easier to get people to bring stuff into a strip center store because it's more of a destination shop. I like the foot traffic in the mall. I really love the mall. My biggest problem in the mall isn't selling stuff, it's getting stuff. All the stuff I order, I get in large quantity. I can get it all day long. But getting people to bring stuff into the mall, luckily I'm right by a door, which is nice. But here with the COVID thing, that door is sealed. People have to come in, I think, at the food court door. So it takes them longer to walk stuff up to the mall. But I'm talking with a couple other guys who own stores about buying some back stock from them because again, selling it isn't my problem. Getting it, that's a little more difficult. So, okay, that said, I do have to get out of here, guys. I love answering your questions. I love your participation. Thank you so much for being part of the video. To anyone watching, if you haven't subscribed, please do hit that bell icon for updates for future videos. Share my channel with other people. I would love to get some more subscribers. You can follow me on Twitter at L1Games and on Instagram at L1Muzz. Like I said, I've been posting stuff like this on my Instagram. My Instagram is mainly just old consoles and stuff. I just do close-ups on consoles and everything. It's very cool. I like it. And my Twitter, it gets a little more personal. Like I post some, you know, personal stuff, movies I'm watching, things I'm doing, and then every now and then stuff from the collection or whatever. So definitely content you're not going to see on like Facebook, which you can also check me out on Facebook, the L1 Games group and page. But and you can join my PS5 group. I have a PS5 group now with like 120,000 members on Facebook. So come and join up. So yeah, with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. I will see you all soon. I hope to have a new video. I'm trying to work on something that's a little more produced, not a live stream. I like to do stuff with nice production value. You know, I want to give you top quality content. So these live videos definitely fill in a gap though. And like I said, I love the participation. So I'm out of here. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you all later.